Good morning and welcome back. It is now August 21st and it's a little bit of a gloomy, wet morning out here so far. Rain amounts so far are varying. I had 8 millimeters in Nobleford. Here now I'm about 8 miles farther to the west and it's just slightly moist. But this canola behind me is Nexera canola and it is hitting swath timing, so we're going to try to get this done today while the canopy is still wet. Doing so will minimize any shelling out that might occur from areas that are a little bit overripe. This canola field still looks quite green at a casual glance, but when you start opening up the pods, you can see we've still got good color change going in there right up to the very top of the main stem. Side branches are nice and solid, there's no glassy seeds, and we're starting to see a little bit of color change in them as well. So this field can pretty much be swathed at any time. Even though it still looks quite green, it's ready to go. Well, unfortunately, there just wasn't time for all the cereal acres to get done before this little bit of rain, so there is still some swaths of barley sitting here and there. So these are no doubt going to take a few days of good weather before they are dry enough to harvest once again. Hopefully we do not get any sprouting or germination in the swath, but it's too early to determine any of that yet, since it's really only been sprinkling for a few hours here. And now that fields are harvested, we've got weeds. A lot of these weeds were, suppressed underneath the canopy or were cut off during harvest. And now with this moisture, they are really getting going again here. So you can see we got some kochia, we got some lamb's quarters, there's lots of mallow around, stuff like that. So a lot of these weeds were pretty well hardened off by some of the drought conditions. Now this moisture, if we get, a couple cooler days and some more moisture, these weeds are really going to start growing, and that gives us an opportunity to get them under control with products, like Blackhawk or Corex or DB878, what have you, depends on the company of your choice. We've also been having some pretty good luck with controlling a lot of this kochia using Liberty as a burn-off. Well, it's Tuesday now down by McGrath. It's still raining to the north, but it's kind of clearing off here. There's been about 6/10 of rain down here so far. This canola was getting pretty close to combine timing, but you can see it is still quite green underneath in the canopy. So this canola is at risk of seeing some regrowth in the next few days now that it's had moisture. Really stressed out canola will quite frequently reflower if it does receive late season moisture. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. I'll probably end up coming back down here in a few days, take a look at this and see if we need to desiccate it or not. Well, there's still quite a few irrigated fields that are definitely on the green side. A lot of these plants here, you can see we've got a little bit of color change, just kind of mottled color change right in that very bottom pot. But as we get farther and farther up, it's still quite green. Seeds are getting solid, but they're still quite green, and that's the normal in here. So we're still quite a ways away from swathing or desiccation timing in a field like this. Up by Carmangay, there's these very variable canola fields where we had early emergence followed by late emergence almost a month later after it rained. And you can see we have quite a variety of ripeness in here with basically ready to combine and still very green in pod development. Now that we've had some rain up here, it is very possible some of these greener plants will potentially start to reflower, but I'm not seeing any signs of that yet, but we will know more in probably a week or so. Well, the corn by Nobleford looking really good this week, so we're still kind of in the milk stage, but we are really starting to build up some solids in here now, so we are getting a buildup of starch. Silage season will be only a few weeks away. Here in some of these silage oats, you can see we do have some burnt leaf tips. This is not uncommon to see this time of the year. I pretty much called this last week. Whenever we have those temperatures like 37, 38 degrees for days in a row prior to having that rain, it will cause stress in oats. Oats are a cool season crop. They do not like being particularly hot, and actually I'm surprised by how little of this damage we've gotten away with so far. It's overall been pretty minor. Well, it's Friday now, and we are back at harvest. A little bit of a delay here this morning just because of an overnight dew, which has been a rare occurrence up till now this year. So, but guys are just starting to get rolling now. Here we have some canola at very high risk of regrowth. Even though these pods on the top are ripe and pretty dry, we're at regular timing across the field. There is still a couple green patches, but you can see we do still have green growth and leaves underneath. And you can see down here we already have some new flower buds just starting to form down here. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on this field. Probably end up coming in here with Reglone or another diquat and taking care of this in the next day or two. Well, that moisture that we had was also enough to get a lot of weeds germinating, and in this case volunteer canola already. Even though this field has not been harvested yet, there is some, canola has been driven over at the edge of the field and dropped its seed, and that's what we're seeing sprouting up here already. Here we have another relatively green looking canola field, but when you start opening up that main stem, those bottom pods are pretty well turned. They're not completely solid yet, they're still a little bit mottled, but we got good mottled color pretty much all the way up into those top pods. And even on the side branches here, these top pods, the seeds inside, are pretty well solid. They are not glassy. We got a little bit of mottled color change, so even though this field looks quite green, it is ready to swath. But it's also not a huge emergency to swath it either. It's really still quite a few days away from getting brittle. These tops are still really nice and leathery. There's no problems here. This is an irrigated field, obviously, because it's still green. So we can probably hold off till early next week to get this one swathed. Well, that'll be it for this week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.